Pike's Strange New Worlds girlfriend was a Star Trek captain before he got Enterprise. Captain Marie Battelle Melanie Scrofano was a starship captain before Christopher Pike Anson Mount in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Battelle is one of the new characters created for Star Trek Strange New Worlds, balancing out the younger legacy icons from Star Trek, the original series like Lieutenant Spock, Ethan Peck, Ensign Nyota Uhura Celia Rose Gooding, and Captain Pike himself. Battelle is the captain of the USS Cayuga, and is in a relationship with Captain Pike. Captain Pike commanded the USS Enterprise from 2250 to about 2265 when Captain James T. Kirk William Shatner took over the flagship of the United Federation of Planets. Pike came aboard the Starship Enterprise as its first officer when the Constitution-class vessel launched in 2245 under the command of Captain Robert April Adrian Holmes. Upon completing the Enterprise's first 5-year mission, April was promoted to Admiral and Pike became captain of the Enterprise. But Marie Battelle had already beaten Christopher Pike to the captain's chair. Battelle was captain before Pike in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. According to an on-screen graphics scene in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2's finale, Hegemony, Marie Battelle became captain of the USS Cayuga in 2245. The Cayuga, which is a Constitution-class starship similar to the USS Enterprise, was launched the same year as Captain April's starship. Not only was Battelle a starship captain for about 15 years as of the end of Strange New Worlds Season 2, but Battelle beat Pike to the captain's chair by 5 years. Although Captain Pike commands the Federation flagship, Captain Battelle is a decorated starship captain. Battelle is also an officer in Starfleet's Judge Advocate General's office. Battelle was in line to become a Commodore before she was passed over because Marie believes she lost the Federation's case prosecuting LT. Commander Una Chin Riley Rebecca Romean for lying about her status as a genetically engineered Illyrian in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 2, Ad Astra Per Aspera. Pike and Battelle understand each other's burdens and realities. Captain Battelle and Captain Pike have a unique and satisfying relationship in part because they are both starship captains. Although their responsibilities and respective missions make spending time together challenging, Pike and Battelle understand each other's burdens and realities. Marie and Chris's romance has rough patches, but they are a rare example in Star Trek of captains who are equals, pursuing a healthy relationship. When Star Trek Strange New Worlds premiered, fans were excited to revisit the legendary Captain Christopher Pike. As the series explored his heroic leadership aboard the USS Enterprise, it also shed new light on his personal life, especially his complex romance with Captain Battelle. While many casual viewers might see Battelle as a supporting character or simply Pike's love interest, longtime Star Trek fans recognize that there's something far more remarkable about her. She was a Starfleet captain before Pike even got the Enterprise. And in the layered, sometimes heartbreaking dynamic between them lies a deeper story about ambition, duty, and what it means to love someone who lives among the stars. A Starfleet power couple in the making. From the moment we meet Captain Marie Battelle, it's clear she's no ordinary character. Played with quiet strength by Melanie Scrofano, Battelle commands her own starship, the USS Cayuga, and effortlessly balances Starfleet protocol with personal warmth. It's not often we see Pike in vulnerable moments, but with Battelle, he's more human, more conflicted. Their relationship immediately feels lived in, suggesting history, chemistry, and a foundation of mutual respect. But what makes Battelle especially compelling is that she represents something very rare in Star Trek, a woman who's reached the highest levels of command long before many of her male counterparts, including Pike himself. When we look at the timeline, Battelle has clearly been in command of her ship before Pike takes the captain's chair aboard the Enterprise full-time. That's no small detail. It flips the usual script. In a franchise where command often centers around a single heroic figure, Battelle breaks the mold. She's not just Pike's girlfriend, she's a fully realized captain in her own right, and her career trajectory subtly outpaces Pike's in some respects. A glimpse into Pike's past and future. In Star Trek Discovery Season 2, we meet Pike in the early stages of his Enterprise command. But Strange New Worlds makes it clear that he's haunted by his fate, already aware of the tragic accident that will eventually leave him disfigured and paralyzed. This looming destiny hangs over every decision he makes, including his hesitations about building a life with someone like Patel. The dramatic irony is rich. Pike, burdened by his future, is romantically involved with a woman who may represent everything he believes he can't have. And yet, Patel herself is no stranger to sacrifice. As a captain, she understands duty, risk, and the emotional toll of deep space command. This shared understanding is what makes their bond so unique. They're equals in a world where very few people truly comprehend the weight they each carry. There's also a quiet feminist undercurrent here. Star Trek has always strived, sometimes clumsily, to present gender equality. But Batel represents the best of what that vision can be. She's not defined by her romantic connection to a male lead. Instead, she's a trailblazer whose career and principles are every bit as solid as Pike's. When she takes command decisions that clash with Pike's wishes, she doesn't yield, she stands her ground, not out of spite, but because it's the right thing to do. That's Starfleet at its finest. Echoes of other Star Trek captains. Batel's presence also calls to mind another legendary Starfleet woman, Captain Catherine Janeway of Voyager. Like Janeway, Batel exudes a quiet determination and moral clarity. She knows the loneliness that comes with command, but she doesn't let it define her. Where Janeway once struggled with the isolation of being the only captain in the Delta Quadrant, Batel faces a more personal kind of isolation, being romantically involved with another captain whose mission often supersedes their time together. There's also a hint of Benjamin Sisko and Cassidy Yates in Pike and Batel's relationship. Both couples face the challenge of maintaining love amid conflicting schedules, distant missions, and the specter of fate. Like Sisko, Pike hesitates, not because he doesn't love Batel, but because he fears he may ultimately hurt her. That self-imposed barrier is both touching and tragic. Their relationship challenges Trek's romance norms. Historically, Star Trek has a complicated relationship with romance. Captains are often portrayed as loners, sacrificing personal connections for the greater good. Kirk had his flings, Picard kept his feelings bottled up, Janeway famously kept a safe distance from intimacy during her time in the Delta Quadrant. Only recently have newer shows begun to break that mold. With Pike and Batel, Strange New Worlds challenges this tradition. Their relationship isn't a background note, it's front and center, complicated, raw, and evolving. Pike isn't a stoic bachelor. He cooks for Batel. He opens up. He wants something more. And so does she. And the fact that Batel's own career isn't sacrificed or sidelined for the sake of romance is a welcome evolution. She isn't there to support Pike, she's on a parallel trajectory with her own missions, decisions, and consequences. That includes one of the most shocking moments of the series, when she's infected by a Gorn parasite and faces a terrifying fate. In that moment, it's Pike who feels helpless and Batel who remains composed. The power dynamic inverts again, revealing just how strong she truly is. A mirror to Pike's mortality. Perhaps the most resonant aspect of their dynamic is how Batel reminds Pike of the future he's trying to outrun. Every time he looks at her, there's love, but also fear. What happens when he becomes the man in